My name is Marty Pope. I'm with I'm the service hydrologist at the National Weather Service in Jackson. We've had a very busy few days here at the Weather Service with all the heavy rain we've got. We've actually got anywhere from 5 to 15 inches over the last 3 days, of course, with the extreme intense rains that we had just yesterday. So that's caused the Pearl River and all the rivers in the upper basins up there to really go up really high. We've seen one place is almost near record flood on the south side of the Pearl River, Tuscaloosa Creek, near approaching major flood, and also approaching the record up there. But what we're seeing right now is we've had a conference call this morning with the Pearl River Valley, the Corps of Engineers, and we were coordinating all our forecast from the Lower Mississippi River Forecast Center, and we've come up with we're seeing right now about 70,000 going to be coming into the reservoir, 70,000 cubic feet per second, which would give us approximately 36 feet on the Pearl River gauge, and that would be on Tuesday time frame. So what that will do, that would be on the gauge at Lakeland Drive, that would be around 41.5 feet. If people follow their Lakeland River gauge, that would be at 41.5 feet on Monday afternoon. It would get to that point there. So what we're thinking today, the reservoir itself has actually gone up to 45,000 cubic feet per second, which will take the river up to 34 feet fairly quickly. That will put some areas, some water in some of the streets eventually once we get beyond the 34 feet as we approach that 36, and that'll be over the weekend. But just to let you know, we're going to be meeting each day with the Pearl River Valley Water Supply District, as well as with our Lower Mississippi River Forecast Center, and we'll be coordinating these forecasts each day. So if you have any questions, I'll be available afterwards. Thanks.
Good afternoon. I'm Steve McCraney. I'm with the Mississippi Emergency Management Agency. Just want to kind of brief up kind of where we are, what we're looking at. You know, as we look into the rearview mirror of flooding back in 2020, saying a 36 foot, that's very relative to some of that we had then. So I've been talking with the Hinds County, with the Emergency Management Office there, and also looking at whether or not shelters are going to be needing and whatnot. So we've got the supplies ready. The state has created a state emergency logistical operations center that we have just south of Jackson. So we've been able to stock supplies there, so we are ready and able to assist when necessary. But I can't say enough about what the local first responders have done. Jackson Fire Department, the Police Department, the Sheriff's Department in Hinds County. To this point, I have not seen an operation go this smooth without the need for extra help or state assistance at this point, except for we are ready and willing to come and help when needed. The professionalism, the plans that have been put in place over the last 3 years, perfect. Execution of those we were talking on the way up, that they have been executed perfectly and been able to be handled. So we are here. We're the catcher. We're ready to respond and assist when necessary for the city of Jackson or Hinds County, as well as other counties in the state. But we need for the locals to think about that flooding that happened just a few years ago. If you were impacted then, it's a very good possibility you will be impacted now. So I want you to get prepared and get your supplies ready. Look at your pets, look at elderly folks in your area. Go ahead and get that plan together, get that ready, and then we'll be able to get the resources necessary when we're called on. That's all I have.
Good afternoon. I'd like to thank Mr. McCraney and Mr. Pope for those introductory remarks and that critical information. I want to be clear, because I know that there's been significant discussion as it relates to water, that this event is due to the expected water that we will receive into our system coming downstream from the Pearl River. And I think that's important for people to know. And it's important that we heed the advice and instruction that is being provided today. So there are some things that I want to detail from the city side, and as Ms. Faith Payne previewed, we have some other agencies that are going to speak and provide critical information to our residents. The event will be similar, potentially, to what we experienced in 2020. As of right now, there's likely already water on roadways in parts of downtown Jackson. I want to state, our immense sensitivity and deep regards for those that are already suffering at the hands of flash flooding. We know there are several communities that are already suffering in that regard. This event that we are preparing for is related to the Pearl River. And so we expect somewhere by Monday until Tuesday, many neighborhoods will be impacted. Riverwood, Westbrook, Canton Club area, etc. I have a more exhaustive list that I will share at the conclusion of our press conference to prepare other communities that we believe could potentially be impacted by these waters. I think it is important that our residents prepare in advance. We don't want to take for granted that we've seen these experiences before. It is quite possible that you live in a community that has been advised could potentially see this water, and maybe you weren't impacted in 2020. We cannot make assurances. If we are advising you that you are in a flood-prone area or an at-risk area, and you will see us before you over the next couple of days frequently. This will be a team that will be joining you very often. If we instruct you that you are in a risk area or a high-risk area, please heed that advice. We're calling for voluntary evacuation to take place over the course of this time in the areas that are expected to be affected. Sandbags. Thank you to Hinds County and to MEMA for making sandbags and a sandbag machine that helps us fill these sandbags quickly. But sandbags are available right now as I speak. So any residents that have the ability to prepare in advance and can get down to Michael Avalon to get to these sandbags, we encourage you to do this now. As when we get closer to the expected time of the crest of the river or the potential crest of that river, we know that we will be inundated with people who are trying to get their sandbags last minute. And so I want to encourage our residents to do that as soon as possible. We're working to open shelters as needed. That information will follow later as we identify the exact locations and get closer to that event. But if there is information that could be provided of potential people who are in need of being housed in a shelter, you can call 311 and provide that information so that we can create a database of those individuals, and that will help with the preparations to do so. We're working, as I stated before, and as this team always comes to our aid, we're working with Hinds County, MEMA, the Hinds County EOC, JPD, and JFD to prepare in advance. In 2020, it came to the point where several of our residents did not heed the instruction and the advice to evacuate, and we literally had to have our law enforcement divisions, both the county and JPD, to go door to door, knocking on homes and telling people that the circumstance was critical. And even with that instruction, there still was a need to bring boats from Wildlife and Fisheries to actually rescue people from their homes, and we do not want to see that. We can assure you that we can get to you as soon as possible if you find yourself in that condition. We're working with Public Works to set up a number to help those who are in need of assistance to evacuate, and we will conduct regular press conferences, as I said, to update you day by day as frequently as possible. I will present more information at the conclusion of this press conference.
Good afternoon, Joey Perkins, Hinds County Emergency Management Director. Just want to reiterate what everyone else previous has said. We're working with the City of Jackson, with MEMA, with the Weather Service to coordinate the event, to provide the resources that are needed to assist. Again, we'll be monitoring the weather closely. We would like for everyone to be prepared. If you need to evacuate, you need to evacuate. But again, pay attention to what we're saying here, and if you need to evacuate, just be prepared. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Cleotha Sanders, Jackson Fire Department. As everyone has already stated, and as the mayor has so graciously stated, the Jackson Fire Department, we're actually here to coordinate, to provide the support for our citizens during this time. Our firefighters are boots on the ground firefighters who are training monthly to be able to respond in these type of situations. Just like it says on the side of our apparatus, it says always ready. So during this time, you know, we hope that our citizens take the initiative to evacuate while it's voluntary. But if that's not the case, and there's an emergency that arises where a citizen is stuck, you know, our firefighters are ready to respond. We have 4 boats already hooked up to our trailers with to be deployed in that event. So if a person is trapped and they need rescuing, our firefighters are here to assist during that time. And we just ask everyone to take heed to the warning and go ahead and prepare now. Make a emergency kit. You know, if you have to leave home, go ahead and put together a kit, you know, with water, cell phone, battery charger, and things of that nature, your medicines, things for your pets. And make sure that if you are in an area where there's standing water, please do not walk through the water, and please do not drive through the water. We ask that you turn around and don't drown, and make sure that you know, you're able to live to see another day. So we thank everyone who is here that we will be partnering with, and we just ask that our citizens pray that we prepare for the worst, but and hope for the best. Thank you.
Right, good afternoon. Joseph Wade, Assistant Chief of Police. First of all, I want to give condolences to the families who've been impacted by these floods. Our prayers are with you. The Jackson Police Department has all boots on the ground. We are always prepared for these types of situations. We'll be going to our incident command format. Any resources that we have will be available for this situation. Thirdly, preparation. Take precautions. If you see a tree down, don't try to maneuver around it. If you see a power line down, don't try to maneuver or get around it. If you see standing water, go the other way. If you have no reason to be maneuvering in these locations where standing water is or this event is possibly gonna hit, don't go that way. Help us protect you. Thank you.
Good afternoon. It's Tyree Jones, Hinds County Sheriff. We are also working collectively with everyone regarding the response to these events that we are expecting that we will encounter within the next several days as well. We will be providing law enforcement resources along with other resources as well. We also ask that everyone take heed to the warnings, make the preparations that are essential for you and your families, as we do expect some people to be affected by this as well. Another thing that's very important, we are not only expecting it to affect the city of Jackson, there will be parts of Terry, Mississippi, in the Rosemary Road area as well that we expect to be affected by this as well. And we do have a plan in place, and we will continue to monitor that area and provide resources to that particular area as well. Again, we know that this is very important. This is very indeed an event that could potentially cause danger not only to property, but to individuals as well. We just ask that everyone take heed, and if you're in need of 911 assistance, feel free to contact the Hinds County Sheriff's Office as well. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Creedell Calhoun, President of the Board of Supervisors. We have our administrator here and one of our board members, David Archie. And we are with the city of Jackson and the people of Hinds County. We know that we went through this when we first got elected in 2020. And we prepared to do the same things that we did at that time to make sure that you're as safe as possible. Everybody said if you are advised to evacuate, make sure you evacuate. We were out there as board members trying to help get people out of the water. that were not, did not heed to what was told to them to evacuate. So evacuate, be sure. It's not easy to get you out if you don't evacuate yourself. We have to get boats, and people have to put themselves in danger to get you out. So make sure if your area is supposed to evacuate now, we want you to evacuate. Thank you so much.
I want to follow up on a few things that I said in my remarks a moment ago. First and foremost, with relation to the sandbags. If you are an elderly resident or you are immobile for one reason or another, please call constituent services. You can call 311 and we can get you connected to constituent services for those sandbags to be delivered to you. I'd like to thank not only all of the corporations that have supported the City of Jackson over the last few weeks with water donations. I'd also like to take a moment to thank Commissioner Willie Simmons, I think who has provided 15 pallets of water to be dispersed evenly through each one of the wards. We will be coordinating and we will be talking to your council person for them to coordinate water distribution. Right now, as constituent services has been the primary entity within the city distributing the water, the priority in this moment is the distribution of sandbags. And so we ask that you coordinate either with your council member or make a plan in order to get the water, as they will be working to distribute sandbags to individuals who need them. And then I wanted to go through the exhaustive list of streets that may be affected if the Pearl reaches 36 feet. Those communities or those areas are Annie Street, Beasley Street, Beatty Street, and Rankin Street at Silas Brown, Canterbury Court, Ken Club Circle at Sedgwick Drive, Ken Club Circle North on the east end, Congress south of Silas Brown, Cypress Trail, Deer Trail, Dumbarton on the west end, Foxborough, Galilee Street, Greenwood at Hardy Creek, Gum on the east end, Harold Drive, Hines Street, Hudson East End, Julienne Street, Lindy Air Trailer Court at Creek, Martin Street, and McNutt Street. Those are the streets that we have right now. We will post this list on the city's website and make it available to you. And before we open up for any questions that you may have for any of the individuals that have appeared before you, I'd just like to thank MEMA, thank the Weather Service, thank our fire department, our sheriff's department, thank JPD, thank our constituent services division, our public works department, so many, Hinds County EOC, our board of supervisors who have all come and rallied together. I got you, you can join me. Rallied together in order to prepare in advance for our residents. Our early preparation is key in not only saving lives, which is most important, but saving whatever potential property we can as well.
David L. Archie, Hinds County Supervisor, District 2, and I think one of the things that we did miss is the fact that people must have somewhere to go under these conditions. And we're going to ask that all the surrounding counties or cities that perhaps are providing hotel space or motel space, Hinds County just signed its emergency, and I think the city signed their emergency on yesterday. So it forbid those motels and hotels from price gouging. And so we're going to ask those properties that are taking people in under these conditions. There's been an emergency here in the city as well as the county, and hopefully there will not be any price gouging. And if there's some price gouging, we will speak to the Attorney General concerning that matter. So we're just going to give you a fair warning on that, Mayor.
Thank you, appreciate it. think that was an important note. We ask that our hotels be good corporate citizens at this time and support the needs of our residents. We ask that if you do have a family member, if you do have preparations for evacuation, that you pursue those first, and we leave the shelter space for those individuals who have the most critical need for that shelter space. With that, questions? Yes.
What's the, if any, expected impact on drinking water distribution?
Right now, we don't have any expected impact on drinking water. I can tell you that the persistent rain over the last few days has led to water outages in certain areas that are on wells. Those areas have been affected by power outages, and those power outages have prevented the pumps from getting the water. So that has nothing to do with the water treatment facility itself. It has to do with a lack of electricity. I do think that a critical note that we prepare for, since you brought up the issue of utilities, is that Entergy in the 2020 event had pre-planned, cutoffs of power to make certain that they didn't have electricity running in areas that were inundated with water, creating, another threat to life and property in that regard. But I will say that as it pertains to lifting the boil water notice, the testing will resume once we have consecutive days of dry weather. They cannot test in the rain. It affects the samples. It affects the quality of those samples. And so that's what we've been waiting on the last few days. The turbidity issue at the plant that led to the boil water notice was actually resolved within 24 hours. So we've just been waiting through this testing process. And so we look forward to doing that, but we want to keep our eye on the ball with the highest priority at this moment, and that is the threat of floodwaters and what it can do to residents and their homes.
I'm sorry, I just meant more with the distribution side, in terms of just distributing bottles of water to residents. That's not going to be interrupted.
Well, none other than, we won't have constituent services with the ability to go to people's homes. Right. It will still be located in various places across the city. We can provide that exhaustive list later on. Once again, we're thankful for the donation of Commissioner Simmons and having approximately 2 to 3 pallets of water for each ward. We're going to strategically place those within those wards for people to come and receive that water. Yes, sir.
Mayor, you alluded to this earlier, but I wanted to just follow back up. Are those planned outages going to continue this year if the flooding does go up to these levels?
I would reserve the response to that for Entergy at a later time, and I just want to preview that you're going to be seeing this team often over the next few days until we get to the point of either some mitigation or resolution of that water, which I don't know. We're praying that the Lord bless us in that way. We're going to, as someone said, prepare for the worst and pray for the best. But I will let Entergy, we expect to have representation from Entergy at some point that can instruct about those outages. Yes. Oh, I thought you were with the mask.
Robbie Kemp with Entergy. I'm not sure if I'm clear with your question in terms of planned outages.
At this time, do y'all have any plans for if there is flooding in areas to do those strategic cutoffs?
That are flood related?
Yes.
Yes. We are. Our departments are working now. We're monitoring because there are different areas that would be affected based upon the levels, including our substations. So we will continue to follow and be in communication with MEMA and appropriate departments and groups to determine what we need to do in terms of de-energizing in those areas to avoid any safety concerns. Thank you.
Any more questions?
For Director Green, I'll step back up this way and this way about that. All right, I thought I was going to get to the back of the room. All right.
I was just going to ask, at this point with the flooding yesterday that was
so widespread around the state. Are there other parts of the state that you guys are worried about in terms of flooding right now?
Absolutely. The Pearl River, we talked about it. I mean, the mayor and I, last couple of years ago, been together a lot on it. As the Pearl, it's almost like a tidal wave. Here we go. It's going to come down the waterhead, down to the reservoir. The reservoir can only hold so much. You've heard from the National Weather Service. We play with that number, and they do the best that they can, but that is not a water control device at the reservoir. So then we start going down the Pearl River, and then the storm comes back in at the bottom, on south of Jackson. So there's going to be Lawrence County, there's going to be Copiah, there's going to be lower parts of Terry. Glad I heard you. That's where I'm living, and it's in Terry. So you'll be around me where the floodwater is. So what I'm saying is, yes, we are preparing statewide. But also, we are very close. This team, as the mayor said it, this is a great response team. All these folks I have seen in every tornado, every hurricane, every flooding event, the same characters of support come together, not our first rodeo. The police chief talked about something very important. Get yourself ready, be safe. But I'm going to talk to sightseers. Do not come and view the flood water in any area of the state, because you have first responders, you have firemen, you have police. They're trying to do a job, and people are trying to get out of harm's way, and you're clogging up to see some flood. Wait and let the news media, yourself and others, let y'all report that. You can see that from afar. At the time that we're trying to get people out of harm's way and go, that's what we need to concentrate on. So the sightseers have always been an issue of mine, that people like to come see damages. Do not. People are trying to get out of harm's way to live. Heaven be it. You restrict that movement. So we'd like for you to really pay attention to that. Right now, take some pictures of your residents. Statewide, take a picture of the things that you have and the things that might be damaged during this storm, and you've got that on record, and you can file that claim just as quick as you can with your insurance company on the backside. So the prep work now, as the mayor and everybody stood up here and told you, the prep work is now. It begins now. That's why we're coming out as a whole team to tell you, no part of the state's untouched, but in Hinds County, in the city of Jackson, now is the time to get prepared. We know what's coming. Let's do what we're supposed to do, and we'll assist you. Call the numbers for assistance. We'll come and assist those who can't get out on their own. We good? I guess I'll run to the back of the room.
Yeah. Somebody told me that you're at the back like a good Baptist.
That's right.
Let me say this. First of all, I thank you for that additional piece of information to take pictures. We know that there are some people that fail to leave their home because they're worried about their possessions. And so that's another way of keeping an account of what you own and what you may make a claim on later on. And there was another point that I was going to make, and it was going to be a good one.
Did I steal you?
But I forgot it. So I'm sure that it will come back to me. But once again, I just want to thank all of the people who are here on behalf of all of the potentially impacted areas. We even know that there are areas of Rankin County that will be affected, and we're principally concerned with our city, but and our county, because that's our responsibility. But I know what I was going to say. Be prepared. As it relates to flood waters, as Mr. McCraney said, do not go in those waters. You don't know what can be in those waters, whether they're snakes or other threats. Sometimes you can walk in that water, and there may be a manhole cover open, and you can potentially drown in what appears to be shallow water. You don't know what's under that water and the effects. So turn around, don't drown. You want to come and share more?
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I was just talking with Marty Pope, our hydrologist at the Weather Service, and I'm Chad Archimont with the National Weather Service as well. One thing we want to mention is the duration of these floodwaters. Marty mentioned that the crest right now is forecast on sometime Tuesday, but the water's coming up kind of steadily. But once it crests, it's going to be a slow kind of recede. So we may still be 34, 33 feet all the way into the weekend. So this is kind of maybe a week-long kind of duration, of the flood. So if people have to evacuate, take what you need for probably 2 weeks, maybe, something like that. So just wanted to make that point.
Thank you. Very critical point. All hearts and minds satisfied? All right. Thank you. We look to join you in the very near future. Tomorrow.